Hey everyone, so I'm here again for the usual makeup tutorial. No one actually picked a number last week for this week's tutorial. So I got one of the girls to pick a number and we ended up with extended cut crease again. So if you watched the last video, I think it was an extended cut crease too last time, but I think I remember saying that I was just going to show you the bare bones of that cut crease because I was right in the middle of the Wizard of Oz contest and I didn't want to give the game away beforehand. So what I'm going to do today, because I showed you the basic one last time, I'm just going to turn this around a little bit. I've just noticed that the light's a little bit horrendous today. That's a bit better. I'm going to show you how to do a multicolored cut crease. So last week, if you watched the basic cut crease, this time we're going to be using multiple colors across the top of the crease. So what I've done is I've gone and mapped out my eyebrow shape and I've put on my eye primer. So now, given that we're doing an extended cut crease today, I'm going to go ahead and tape up, which if you've watched my videos before, when I tape up, it just enables me to get a really crisp straight line along the edge of that eyeshadow and my eyeliner. So I've just got my trusty craft tape from Kmart. The reason why I use this one is because it's kind of metallic. Also, I don't find that it absorbs the product at all, because then it can bleed underneath the tape and then you've got a mess that you've got to fix up later. It's always harder to fix things up later, but if you prepare a little bit beforehand, hopefully you don't get those things that you need to fix up later. So what I'm doing is I'm just sitting the tape against the corner of my eye and I'm just extending it up to where my eyebrow finishes and at my hairline at about the temple. And I'm just smoothing it down so that it doesn't flip up while I'm trying to do eyeshadow or anything like that. So just again at the corner of my eye and up to the temple or where the eyebrow would normally finish. Sometimes I take my eyebrows right out, depends on the look that I'm doing. Sometimes I kind of nip them off shorter. You know what, doesn't matter, whatever I feel like that day. So I'm just going to go and grab my palette that I'm using today and I'll be right back. Okay, so the palette that we're using today I'm kind of excited about because one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn since doing makeup is restraint. Like, less is more. You don't have to throw everything but the kitchen sink at it. I like a lot of things. I like colour, I like glitter. So I kind of get excited and have a tendency to throw everything at it. That doesn't necessarily translate into a cohesive and a good look. But today's palette is one of those palettes that I really love because it's got so many colour options that I just look at it and I'm like, I want to use everything. But you know what? We're not going to do that today. This is the Revolution Beauty Forever Flawless Pride palette. These Forever Flawless palettes are probably one of my favourite palettes to use. Number one reason for that is they come in this really sturdy metal like case. Also, they're really pigmented. The colours are just absolutely amazing and I just really enjoy using them. So, sorry, there was just like a tiny hair hanging down, and I could see it constantly. So we're going to open it up, and these colours will just snap your brain. Like, look at that. It's just amazing. So, in saying that, restraint, what I'm going to decide first is my main colour that I'm going to use on the eyelid. So that's going to be the colour that we place once we cut that extended cut crease. Oh, goodness me. There's so many. Let me think. Okay. There's a colour in here that I don't think I've used before, and I really like to use colours I haven't used before. So I'm going to go with this amazing purple colour up here. I don't know if you can see that because the light's being a bit questionable today. But it's like a really deep, rich, dark, shimmery purple. I have a tendency to always use shimmer shades on the lid, but I blend with matte shades. I've just found through trial and error before in the past that when you're trying to blend shimmer shades, it's really, really hard. And especially if you have a little bit of loose skin on your eyelids like I do, it's kind of like a losing battle from the start, if that makes any sense. So that's going to be my main colour, the purple. Now, one of my absolute favourite things to do is have contrasting colours. It really, really, I don't know why, I just really, really love the difference and the excitement of using something different. So if any of you are familiar with the colour wheel, opposite the colour wheel on the other side to purple is yellow. So I think what we might do for our matte colours up the top, we might move through some warm colours, like we might go with some yellow, some pink maybe, and some orange and reds. And then we're going to have the contrast of that deep, deep purple on the lid. So you know what? I'm excited about it. I'm just going to go grab some brushes and some other things, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I think I've grabbed everything that I need. One thing that I want to talk to you about before I move on, a lot of people have said to me is, how do you get your eye primer or your concealer or whatever not to crack? What I mean by cracking is that it goes all kind of grainy and it's not even, and then it makes the eyeshadow look uneven. I just noticed when I was talking to you guys before, you can see how the eye primer has settled unevenly into the crease of my eyelids there. So before we even touch it with eyeshadow, I'm just going to blend out that unevenness with my beauty blender. And you can see now that one's nice and smooth in comparison to that one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this one as well. And then we've got a really nice base for our eyeshadow to sit on. Now, if you prefer, and all eye bases are different because some of them work with this and some of them don't. Some people like to set their eye primer with powder. Personally, I don't generally do that because I'm of the opinion that you're placing eyeshadow on it, which is a powder anyway, so that should be sufficient. But some eye primers are a lot heavier and creamier and sticky, and so they kind of need to be set with a powder because otherwise when you're trying to blend, it's not really happening. With that said, we're going to go ahead and place our first colour. So I've just grabbed a small pencil brush. This is called a pencil or inner corner brush. It's just a little pointed eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to use it to place the colours in the crease, and then we're going to blend with bigger brushes. We're going to do one colour at a time. Normally I would use different brushes for each colour, but this morning I haven't washed my brushes this week, so I don't really have that many left. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to use the same ones, but usually it's always recommended that you use clean brushes for each colour. So as I said earlier, we're going to do a bit of a contrasting look today. So because we've got a purple shimmer shade on the lid, we're going to start off with yellow. Now you always place your lightest colour in the inner part of your eye because it makes your eyes look more open and awake. Now I've got a mirror on this palette, so I'm just going to look in the mirror while I'm doing it because I've just noticed the way that the light's hitting my face. Like the light's good on this side, but on this side I've got like darkness. So I'm not going to be able to see properly, so I'm just going to do this. So I'm just dabbing the yellow into the corner of my eye, and then I'm just taking it up around the eye socket and just to the point where it starts to come up a bit, because remembering I'm going to be using like a few different shades, so I need room to put those other colours. So I'm just making sure that I'm patting in the level of colour that I want. Like if I wanted a pale yellow, I would have left it at one application, but because I want the colours to be bright and amazing, and also my OCD, I have to do things in threes. I don't know why, it's just, it is what it is, you know, so you know what, we're going to go with it. Okay, so we've got our yellow placed there. Now when I do the other eye, you might be able to see a bit better because the light's hitting that side of my face. So again, I'm starting at the corner of my eye and I'm just patting it along the shape of that eye socket and the crease there. Now a little bit of a handy tip, if you were wanting to do this eye look but you had really hooded eyelids, you actually place your colours above the crease and you cut the crease slightly above the crease, because again that like opens up the eyes more. Okay, so I've placed my third layer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and smooth it out. So I'm not adding any more product to my brush. I'm just rubbing my brush along the shadow that I have already placed, just to soften it out, because in a minute we're going to start blending. So you can see there that it's starting to soften and spread up into that crease. So we're just going to go with this one as well. Now that one I've taken over a little bit further, but when we move on to other colours that won't really matter. So now I'm just grabbing a small, well, small to medium fluffy blending brush, and I'm just dipping it into my colour, but I'm not getting a huge amount of product on the brush, and I'm just going to rub the brush across where that colour starts to soften and just kind of edge it up towards the eyebrow. So on that side, if you end up with a lot of extra product on your brush, just tap it off like I did a minute ago, because you want it to be softened, but you don't want to add a whole heap of product that you're going to have to blend out later on. Otherwise, you're just creating more work for yourself. Now, as you can see how we've softened the colour out, it's kind of hitting the top of my eyebrow now, like the bottom edge of my eyebrow. That's what we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and blend the other eye. Again, just softly brushing across the colour that we placed a minute ago. And it's important to blend before you move on to the new colours, because it's really hard to blend later on without the colours kind of mixing together, and then you end up with these like mixed colours, but you don't have like your definite colour differences, if that makes sense. Okay, now I'm going in with my big fluffy blender. I love this brush. This is my favourite brush in the whole entire world. And I'm just dabbing it in. As you can see, we've got a bit of product there, but this time I'm going to tap the excess off every time, because this is where we want to add the most softness. And I'm actually blending into the side of my nose as well. And just down a little bit, just into that corner, if you can see that. Now I'm just going to grab a little more, and this time I'm just softly circling the brush across the colour. And as you can probably see, it's looking a little bit orangey. And you know what that is? Remember I said you should use clean brushes for everything? Well, that's why. So lesson learned. So it's looking a little bit more orangey than yellow. But you know what? Because we're going to be using oranges later on, it's not going to matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this one. This one's not looking as orangey because obviously we've transferred that colour onto this side. I can fix that later, because when I do my eyebrows later and I line the shape with my concealer, I'll have to reapply a little bit of eyeshadow in that area, so it'll all work out later on. Okay, as you can see, we've got our first colour in the inner corner and heading towards our tape. So now we're going to go ahead and place, I think we could probably safely place about 3 colours in there. I don't want to push it, because then you don't get those definite colour differences like I was saying before, and it all kind of like blurs in together. I don't know if any of you saw my Wizard of Oz look, the Horse of Many Colours. I had a lot more colours on that one, so that one was quite tricky, but you know what, for the purposes of today, we're going to do this. Now, I don't know whether to go with orange or pink. I think I might just go with light orange, and then we'll put the darker burnt orange red at the end. So I've got the same brush here, but as I said earlier, clean brushes for everything. So I'm just grabbing my colour. As you can see, really pigmented, amazing orange. Now, this is where we start to like just overlap the colours a little bit, because we want to blend them into each other. We don't want like a very harsh demarcation line between the colours. So I'm just patting it kind of over the end of where that yellow is, and I'm just taking it about to the middle of my eye, if you can see that. So we're just patting in colour at this point, And it doesn't matter if it goes down a bit, because remember, we'll be cutting that crease with concealer or eye base later on. Okay, so we'll grab our medium brush again now, and we're just dipping into the colour and just smooth it across. If you can see that, you can see how the yellow's kind of blurring into the orange. I'm really sorry about the light today. It's not working for me, but hopefully you can see what I mean. What I'm trying to achieve is that we don't have a harsh line between the two colours, that they just blend in. Okay, so again, just rubbing across the colour. And I like to actually go back in with the previous colour after I've finished applying this one. Just helps everything to blend a lot better. So as you can see now, I've got my fluffy blender and I'm just blending all the way up to my eyebrow. Just making everything soft. So I'm just blending across like that. Now I'll just go ahead and do the other eye before we go in with the previous colour, to just add a bit more like seamless blending. Does that make sense? I really love using bright colours. I know that's hard to believe because I do a lot of goth looks and stuff. I'm pretty much all about the contrast. So if I've got that pale goth skin and the black lipstick, I'm generally going to want a lot of colour on my eyelids. And inversely, if I've used a lot of colour on my eyelids, I have a tendency to use a very dark lip colour. Okay, so again, we're blending up to the eyebrow. And hopefully you can see this side of my face a little bit better because it's not in shadow. Okay, so I'm now going to go in with the previous colour. Because there's already a little bit of orange still left on that brush, when I dip into the yellow, it's going to help it blend a lot better. So I'm just dipping into the yellow. As you can see, it's a little bit of a mixture. And I'm just rubbing it over that part where the colours meet, so that we've got that nice soft blurring. I nearly started at the wrong end then. Well, it is Saturday morning and I have not yet had coffee, so there we go. Alright, so we've got our blending, and now we're going to go and place our darkest colour, which is kind of like a really intense burnt orange red. As you can see, there's the colour there. Now it does look similar to that other orange, but I'm guessing when we get them next to each other, you'll see the difference in the two. Once again, sorry about that light. It's just plaguing me. Now, because we're doing the extended cut crease, we're going to create that tail flick at the end. So just patting it down, and when it starts to descend, we're just going to flick it up to where it meets the tape and the edge of the eyebrow. If you can see that, I'll show you again on the other eye because the light will be better on that side. Shanzi, the cat's trying to get through the curtains. Okay, so we're just going to go down like that, and then we're just flicking up. Yeah, you can see it much better on that side. And you can also see the difference between the two oranges. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Oranges. It sounds like I'm talking about fruit, like I've got two oranges on my eyelid. That's really funny. Shenzi, come on, darling. Okay, so blending again with our medium fluffy blender. And I'm just taking it into the edge like that, which you'll see in a minute. Right there. Okay, so big fluffy blender again. Oh God, I just nearly stuck it in my eye. And I'm just rubbing it back and forth. It doesn't matter if you take it right up, because later on you're going to be putting on foundation and stuff like that. So it's, for the purposes of the blending, it doesn't matter if you take it right up. So, hi babe, how are you? Yeah, she must have been into the toys again. So I'm just blending across. And of course later on we'll be like placing like a shimmer shade under the arch of that eyebrow as well. So as you can see, we've blended through that way. What are you looking for, Teagles? I believe she's in one of the bedrooms because I heard her trying to get through the curtain. Now, this is where we're going to cut the crease. So I've got my eye base again. This is the P. Louise eye base in white, but you can use concealer or any other eye primer or eye base. And I've got a small flat brush. Now I'm just going to use my little mirror because it kind of zooms in a bit and I need to see what I'm doing. So I'm just patting the eye base along my lash line, because if you watched my last video, we're going to do that little trick where our eyelid actually prints on the line where we need to go. So again, patting. And I'll just put a little more. Now, I like to put my head down till my chin touches my chest and I look up as far as I can. And you can roll your eyes around a little bit. See this side where you can see where the line is? That's where the natural crease is. So I'm just gonna, this side's not as pronounced, so I'm just gonna do that again. What was she doing in there, darling?
In my blinds.
Oh, come here, doll. Say hi, everyone. Okay, so I like to start in the middle of the eyelid. And I might just need a little more product, I think. And I'm just creating that rounded shape. As you can see, I hope you can see, that side's not very good, is it? Okay, so we're starting to decline again, and then we're just going to flick up. Now I like to join it to the end of my eyelid, the end of my eyebrow, sorry. And I'm just running it along the edge of that tape there. As you can see, it kind of was a little bit flipping up there, but I just pushed it back down. Now, this eye you'll probably be able to see much better. That light's really, really plaguing us today. And I might need a little bit more eye base in a sec. So again, I'm just creating that rounded shape and then flicking it up and running it along the edge of the tape. Now I'll just give you a good look. We're gonna go ahead and fill that in with our eye base. Then we're going to go and place our eyelid colour. Did you shut the door on her, mate? Yeah.
She was trying to get back in my blind.
Yeah, she's gonna break something. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, and also trying to get back in the blind. She knocked the box over.
Oh, great.
So
She's naughty then, is she?
She's making a bigger mess in my room.
Yeah.
I have to get in. So I have to go
Pack it up. Yeah. So I'm just patting the eye base into that crease that we just created. Like so. I'll show you again on the other eye because that one's not very good, is it? Yep. Yeah, mate. Like that. And then I'm just going to smooth it all out. Make sure that we've got enough coverage of the eye base. Because we're using a darker colour over the top, it's not going to matter that you can see some of those eyeshadow shades in it. Now today we're not going to be using any graphic liner. We're just going to leave the cut crease as it is. Now later on I will go in and do some eyeshadow underneath the eye, and as you know I'll have to do some glitter as well. I usually like to use the glitter to make everything kind of blend together. So I'll use glitter in areas where one technique joins another. Does that make sense? And I've just fudged that line there a little bit, so I'll just fix that up. Now, as you can see, our eye base is in place, and I'm just going to pat it down a little bit with my blending sponge, just so that it's not so patchy. Alright, and now it's the fun bit. We're going to add the shimmer shade. So I've just got a fluffy flat eyeshadow brush here, and this purple is going to be amazing. It's like a bluey purple. I'm not sure if you can see that. Now I'm just going to pat it all over where we've placed that eye base. And I can see that I'll need a couple of coats, but that's okay. Like so. Now I'm just going to go back and spread it out a bit. Make sure that it's right into that inner corner. Yeah, I know, darling. I know. Not just yet. I will in a minute. And I'm just making sure that I run the colour right along that crease line that we've made. Making sure that we've got enough coverage and there's no areas of the white eye base peeking through. Wow, I'm liking it. Almost there. I'm starting to see that shimmer coming through. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to do this eye because you're going to be able to see that one better. So just patting on the colour out first. Now, you've probably noticed that I'm loading up the brush and I'm not tapping it off because we want the maximum amount of product in that area. We don't want to tap off the excess because we want it to kind of stick to that eye base. Just working it into that crease and up along the tape. The cats are murdering each other, just ignore that. They always do this every morning. They've got to just wrestle and attack each other, which is lovely. Okay, so I'm just pulling it up through this tail area now. And we'll just give it one last brush through. Alright, and there you have it. So we've got that progression of colour and then we've got the contrast of the dark purple. So that's our extended cut crease for this week. Sorry about the light issues. I'll try to get that fixed before next time. Now, I need people to pick a number between 1 and 6. That will decide next time's eye look. It'll be a surprise one. So drop a comment below with your number between 1 and 6. And hopefully you'll get to decide which eye look we do next week. So that's it from me. If you're on my Facebook, I will probably post a picture of the finished look on there later on. If you would like to see the finished look, just drop me a comment below and I'll pop a photo in the comments. Okay everyone, have a great weekend. Bye.